Second story I'm going to bring up is with Adobe, who's another client of ours. And I want to talk about what Adobe's doing with third-party events. So this is something I think third-party events, buying sponsorships to an analyst firm like a Gartner event or something like that is a very big line item for just about every company. And for marketing folks, especially people that own budget, it's very frustrating because it's very expensive, and it's all really hard to manage and figure out what you're getting for what you're spending, and also try to come up with a plan and really execute. Today it's all about marketing execution and trying to get really what you can from a dollar. That's from every dollar you spend. That's really hard to do with events because a lot of it, I think historically. The key thing about events is just sort of being there and meeting with customers, and it's really hard to quantify the value. Well, so Adobe's been thinking about this, as I'm sure a lot of companies have, and what they wanted to do is try and put a little bit more rigor into the process of both selecting events and also managing their participation in events. We got to be part of this, and so what they said is it was tricky because they wanted to keep the independence. A lot of event decisions are made locally, and every event's different. So they wanted to not pull it back and make all these decisions for different parts of the world. But they also wanted to have some consistency for a couple of reasons. One, they wanted to put a lot more thought into and structure into the game plan for each event that they chose to spend money on. And second, they wanted to learn from what they were doing at all these events so that they could replicate what worked and not keep repeating what wasn't working. So just sort of sounds like basic marketing execution, but it's pretty powerful when you can all of a sudden take and these bigger companies are participating in 20, 50, 100 events every year and start learning from each one of those and having a core group not dictating what everybody's doing, but getting people a little bit more of a running start. So you feel you have a more consistent experience for your customers and prospects. And you get more out of it. You're able to measure it, set goals, execute, and it becomes a much more powerful marketing tool.
I'm curious there, Jeff, how do they balance, and what you said a moment ago is that each of the different regional teams and maybe business units have very unique requirements and needs. They all feel like they have their own particular desires from these events at a local level, and then at a global level, they also like consistency. How do they balance this tension, if you will, centrally managing versus empowering the local teams?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's a learning process. So I think there's not a one size fits all. Each region, a lot of times, depending on the personalities running that region, have their preferences in terms of which events they have to go to, which events they don't want to go to. And sometimes the reasons for those points of view are, various degrees of rigor in terms of what's going on. So what the Adobe team, the centralized team, is trying to do is sort of help the thought process on how you select. So give business unit leaders the chance and their events team the chance to think about, okay, why have we always gone to this event in the past? Do we want to continue that? Once they make that decision on their own, then they can leverage the centralized team to help them put together a game plan, figure out what they want to accomplish, do the work up front so that they go into there much more confident and are able to really get more in terms of results, leads, awareness, whatever they're trying to accomplish at the event.
Makes sense. I'm sure there's an art form to that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great example. A lot of our clients have this tension, global versus regional. So thank you for sharing those tips on how Adobe is managing that so well.